Welcome to Around the Corn, presented by the Knights Guild. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe because getting the likes and subscriptions is the best part of our day. If you want to hear us speculate wildly on something in-game, throw your questions in the comments, and next episode we'll pretend to know the answer. Follow us and the Knights Guild on X. You can learn a ton about the Knights Guild on Discord and the Guild website. All the links you need are in the description. I'm your host, Faux Hubris. As always, I'm joined by the man who's everyone's favorite quantum monster, Eddie Z. Eddie, how's it going?
Yeah, that would be dope if they made me look like a quantum bear.
I'm already trying to talk to Kopi Unicorn to try to get like a meme made of you, like as a quantum monster. So, all right, Eddie, we're going to take some time here to do something that we've been talking about doing for a little while, and we're gonna watch this video and kind of react to it. And this video is really about the gaming industry and in particular the live service game industry and some of the amazing things that you're able to do with live service games, but also like some of the things that studios are doing that are maybe not so loved by the gaming community, and there's like a lot of building frustration about this kind of game. And since Cornucopia is a live service game, I think you and I both agree that its success is really highly dependent on the quality of the game, but also, not to minimize the amount of how much the game is going to be, how well it's going to fit in the landscape of the live service gaming world, because there's only so many hours a day that we as gamers can play, and you have to you're not only really competing with other live service games anymore, you're also competing with the subscription fees to Netflix and all the different entertainment out there. Live service game fits into that whole grand landscape, and I really wanted to get into that with you. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was just thinking of the evolution of gaming, the gaming industry, from where we have like the one-time purchase game that is over. We've evolved as technology has evolved, and technology has evolved again. So it's like we're coming from that, right? Where are we going now? Is the thing, right? In terms of like coming from, that one-time purchase game to a paid DLC to battle passes to subscriptions and and to live service games. So and also just making sure that the game stays fun. I mean that's what really matters, is the fun and how much fun because Helldivers came out of nowhere and Palworld came out of nowhere, but people flocked to that because it's fun. I mean, yeah, maybe Palworld has stalled a little bit just because their team is so small and have to keep going and to push out more DLC. But again, that therein lies another problem, right? And same thing with Helldivers. If you have a successful game, then I guess people were going to flock to it. But guess what? They have a small team. They didn't think this was going to happen. Now they need to expand again, even more so. But yeah, it's interesting where the gaming industry is going, and this is kind of why we're seeing a lot more of these videos coming out on YouTube and of where the gaming industry is and how if ones aren't successful, and where the money's going and where the money's coming from, how they're funding these games as well, and also crypto's coming into this because again, technology is evolving, and so. And this is the first time we're trying to see, or not the first time, but there's multiple different projects like Cornucopias. But this, I feel like Cornucopias is on the right path.
Let's give it an interview, and we're gonna try to keep it Copy centric, even though this video is not about Cornucopias. We're gonna try to talk about what he in this video is talking about in terms of what we think about it as it pertains to like Web3 gaming and Cornucopias. So I'm gonna go ahead and get us started here, Eddie. If you at any point you want me to pause it, just let me know and we'll pause it and discuss. All right.
I kind of want to wear this hat for the rest of the video. Now, before I empty my bowels on the corpse of Anthem and other failed live service games, we need to know why studios shifted to this business model. Why do we go from horse armor to this? Well, it's not hard to understand if you understand business. It's money.
It's just good business.
But you could also watch this chart of the top 15 games on Steam over the last 10 years or so. And what you'll notice is almost all of them are live service. Because even though The Witcher 3 and Elden Ring were some of the biggest, best games ever made, they still don't stay at the top for very long.
So that's like an interesting thing to talk about is the longevity of a game, versus, the the limitations of like a single player game, like you were talking about, like Sonic the Hedgehog, like other than like like sickos like we were probably when we were kids, where like you would beat like Mike Tyson's Punch Out or like Sonic the Hedgehog, and then you would play it again to try to beat it faster, to like get higher scores or whatever, and then time runs and all that. But like
Mhm.
what after a while, like you really just run out of things to do in a game. So that's one way I think Cornucopias is really kind of positioned well, to be able to keep providing content. What are your thoughts?
And the thing is, Cornucopias, I think, has ways to pivot and expand because I think at the same time, it's not the reason why it's so hard to describe Cornucopias. It's because it's a forever game and it's got multiple things going for it. It could be a multiplayer game, shooter game, fishing game, going, what else? Mining game,
Mhm.
resource gathering, build. I mean, it's just there's different things. There's different avenues that they can take it, and I feel like they will be. It seems like there will be a campaign at some point. I'm speculating because I'm not part of the team, right? So, uh, it, but I'm curious as to what that looks like, and along with the lore, and because longevity is what matters, right? Yeah, because like you want to keep the flow going. You want to keep that. You want to keep as Copy is the currency. You want to be able to kind of jumpstart that and keep it going, right?
I know this video that we're watching is like about a year old, so like this isn't exactly the updated list, but I have the updated list right here, Eddie, and I'm curious to know, like looking at the top, list of games here, and it's actually kind of surprising how fast the numbers drop off, because it's really just counter and battlegrounds,
Yeah.
but like, I mean, where do you think? And I know we don't know about how fun Cornucopias is going to be, and we don't know much about the gameplay yet. But like your gut feeling, like, do you see some games on here that you're like, okay, like Cornucopias, if it was on Steam, should be doing better than this game that? I mean, there's right there, like
Yeah, it's hard to it's hard to, like, pinpoint where on this particular list is. I see Counter-Strike, for PUBG, for shooter games, Rust,
there's a fishing
Lawrence
game at
Lawrence
11,
Survivor
and
game.
I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about how
Ah.
Cornucopia is a fishing game, so
Yeah, but, looking at this list again, it almost feels like Cornucopias is trying to
mm,
become all of this, right? And that's kinda thing, like, this is the forever game, and we're gonna have the first person shooter, and again, that goes to the domes, right? In terms of what their developer kits are gonna have, or we're gonna have available for us to go ahead and start creating our own versions of our own games. So again, I'm trying to, that's the one thing I think Cornucopias might even have a shortfalling for, if you will, just because is it
too much, yeah,
trying to be too much? Right, should it stay within a
right.
particular genre? Like, I love Rocket League, like, number 10 on this list. Like, Rocket League is one of my go-tos as far as, like, that's like my, "Hey, I'm gonna just get a few rounds in then before I go to bed." And then but I've played PUBG, I do know of Rust, I've seen multiple videos of Rust. Counter-Strike, I wish I got into, as I mentioned. But yeah, I mean, I would say where would it fit? If we can capture a lot of like little genres of all of these games, right? Or like, I mean,
Yeah.
they could be number two. I mean, honestly, Counter Strike is
Yeah, well,
hard to
that's
beat.
I
I
mean,
mean, people there
yeah.
are hardcore
A million
Counter
like
Strike people,
concurrent players is pretty impressive. I know we want to get there with
right?
Cornucopias, but like, I do kind of feel you on that, because like trying to be all things to all people is a way to be like nothing for anybody, right? Like, so like I do have that concern that games that try to do that seem to not do well. um so
Three
I
and
let's keep going
Elden
on the
Ring
video
were
though,
some of the
because there's a lot of good
biggest,
stuff right
best
now.
games ever made. They
Sure.
still don't stay at the top for very long. Elden Ring peaked at 952,000 concurrent players, and it's at 20,000. Okay, I can take the hat off now. I mean, from 2012 to 2018, EA saw their company's value go from 4 billion to 33 billion. Activision Blizzard, 20 billion to 60 billion in the same time period. Both companies largely attributed this to their games as a service business model.
So I mean, obviously that's where Cornucopias wants to be, right? Like that's like obviously a better business model, and would be better for the NFTs and the underlying token. So obviously none of these games are crypto based. None of them have NFTs. Do And all of these games, I correct me if I'm wrong, you have to pay to play, like, to start, like, you have to buy, like, some kind of game, and then you have to, buy battle packs and add-ons and things like that. I think Cornucopias is unique on this list because it's a free-to-play game, and it's the microtransactions that happen as part of the game that's gonna keep it sustained. Do you think that's substantially different than the business model that exists now in Web 2 gaming?
When I think of the start of all this, of the subscriptions and all that, it really started off with Fortnite. I mean, Fortnite kind of changed the entire industry, and then again, you got to follow the money. Like literally, it's capitalism at its best, right? It's just opportunists, and they see that people are flocking, and if you see those kind of staggering numbers, of course, everybody's going to flock to that. Everybody's trying to do that because supposedly that's the best way to make money in a game, and I hate it's kind of sucks to be honest, just because I love this hobby of gaming, and people are just trying to milk you for everything that you got.
That's what it feels like.
Uh,
The lives. I mean, I think when you boil down the biggest complaint about live service games, it is the constant milking of you want to play these maps, you want to play this content, give us $20 more, buy this battle pack, you want this skin, you know. So right,
But then
right,
you lose it though. That's the thing, right? So, like, I mean, now this is now the most of we're talking about live service games that are practically forever games. So maybe you won't lose it, but I mean, at the same time, like, so for example, and this is just literally just came to me. But if I personally, you know, did something in the game, right, and I wanted to do a promotion for anybody that owns a a mythic Farmer Joe NFT. There's the policy number.
mhm.
You can prove that you own that through wallets and crypto. I can do so. If you own that, come to me. I'll give you 1,000 Kobe. I'm just I'm not saying that right now. I'm not going to do that. But I'm saying, like, if you have one, go to this website, link your wallet. It's got prove that you own this asset. Guess what? Here you go, and you're part of I can create a whole ecosystem or
Yeah,
network around that. So, like, and that's just an asset that they own. But if I wanted to give value to a particular asset, and you can prove to me that you own it, the actual one, not a copy or a JPEG or a copy paste type of picture, guess what? Like
right,
that's value to that, right? So there's also that difference. You can't do that with this, right? And if they did create another game, like for example, Overwatch went from Overwatch and this whole controversial thing they did in Overwatch 2, and they tried
right.
to change
This
certain
video this
things to
video
make it
gets
seem like a
into the
different game.
Overwatch debacle.
Okay, great. And then it kind of you lose all the things that you've progressed there, and if you did buy
Right.
anything there, it's gone. Like it's because again, something happened there, and with Overwatch, and of course, this video will talk about it. And
So I just want to keep like kind of hammering at this point where where Cornucopias is fundamentally different. Like Cornucopias is a live service game, and they are going to make money based on the things that people buy for the game. That is where the similarities of Web 2 and Web 3 are. But there's one like massive difference that you just alluded to is the cooperative nature of the relationship between the users and the developers, because where you can't really go into Counter Strike and buy a dome and build your own map, right? And because of the Web3 nature of it, you can gatekeep, and you have an ability to, like for Crypto Crow, sell your Crow NFTs. Okay, you want to be a part of this, you need to have your Crypto Crow NFT in your wallet. There's a way, like the symbiotic relationship that doesn't exist between the community and the games, where it's kind of like in live service games right now, like you're the developers are your overlords sort of, and they'll read the forums and they'll read the tweets, and maybe you can have like a little bit of effect on them, but you can't change the game to fit your needs. So like that's one major way that Cornucopias is going to be different than every other live service game, which I think is, I know that's later on in the development tree for Cornucopias, but it is a substantial difference.
yeah, and the great thing that you sort of pointed out there, like the developers, the games that are hits are when the developers are true gamers, and so far we're seeing true gamers in this team, and that's what I like. I mean, if you're like, I'm gonna go ahead and take like FIFA for example. That game has gone so downhill in my opinion, like in terms of all the glitches, all the things, like you literally see the ball go through people's heads and feet, just like that's the
Yeah,
actual game. We're playing football and the glitch is the ball goes through the foot.
yeah,
Like what is that about? Like, right, it's just like I clearly they've lost the vision, like they just like are making subpar, they're producing this one
yeah.
thing with EA. I think they even lost the name for FIFA. I'm pretty sure, like EA Sports did. But then it's just the fact that Cornucopias has people like Julian, who we met this week, which I mean, amazing work, by the way. I could just hats off, like amazing. I applaud you, Julian. Fantastic. I'm glad they added you to the team. You clearly know what you're talking about. So I can't wait to get to know more people on the team. But yeah, it's a lot, man. Cornucopias is
Yeah,
doing it right, though,
let's
I
keep
think.
going. Let's see what else we get. We're gonna get
RPGs
into
have
all
been
like
around since the
the glitchy
90s with
nature of the game still. It'd
EverQuest.
be fun
My
to talk
first
about that when we
experience
get
was
to
in
it.
the early 2000s with World of
Yeah.
Warcraft and everyone's favorite dating app, RuneScape. These MMORPGs with huge worlds and active player bases needed this kind of constant live support so that gamers would continue wasting their real lives building their virtual ones. You want to learn something new today, do ya? I'll learn you something. In 2003, on the original Xbox, the game Unreal Championship made history by becoming the first console game to get a post-launch update. According to one of the devs, work on this patch began roughly 3 to 4 weeks after the game shipped, and the decision to ship it came after reviewing the forums and hearing the feedback from fans about exploits that started to pop up. It's important.
Well, that's obvious, right? Cornucopias is never gonna stop debugging the game, right? Like that's the one. I think the main benefit of a live game, and I don't want to get into too much because with the video we'll get into it later about, but like the Cornucopias, they always talk about we want to ship the game and we want it to be a complete game because I think they rightfully have identified that live service games tend to ship games that are incomplete and broken, and that they're gonna
Incomplete.
and that with the
Yeah.
promise of it's gonna be good later, and that's kind of what it feels like now when you're part of Cornucopias, we're in pre-alpha, and so like it's a little bit different than like the game has been shipped, but like so like I think the frustration that anything that happens to the community, it's kind of it's just premature. You and I are both been guilty of it, and then like our fears and concerns get like alleviated later on. But that it's one of the positives of a live service game that you can keep improving it.
Yeah, and going back to what you were just, I think it was Square Enix, I think, that made a Marvel game, right? And I was so hyped for it. I wanted to be Iron Man, right? But it was such a glitchy game. I don't think they ever recovered the money that they
Well,
in order to develop
most of
that
the
game.
failed live
They
service games
shut
are
it down. It
huge
was
boondoggles, and they don't. Yeah,
Yeah, and but again, that's the thing. It's just they literally just put it out there as it almost felt like Indiana cash grab because it was incomplete. I mean, look what happened to Cyberpunk 2077, right? Like there was a massive, horrible launch. Like the game was not ready to be released, but this came out. I actually was one of the people who actually got the refund for it. I do want to play the game now, but man, that was
so I do think he brings up Cyberpunk too. Let's keep. I mean, no.
okay.
It's funny. It's funny that
I
you
didn't
keep
even know.
bringing these
Yeah,
things up because I don't know the gaming. I've been a non-gamer for a long time, and Cornucopias brought me back into it. So it's funny to hear you talk about these things, and then me just kind of catching up. And it's like how big of
okay.
a deal these games have been and these failures have been. So here we go.
To note that the idea of post-launch support, at least on consoles, began as a way to address fan feedback and fix problems that flew under the radar. Because, oh shit, we f***ed up. You're not supposed to be flying across the map like that. Because back in the day when you complained about a game on a forum, you didn't expect anything to happen because the game was out. They couldn't do anything about it. I think once the Halo 2 map pack came out, that and Unreal Championship became the launch pad for live service games to really take off. All you have to do to understand trends in business is follow the money. Why are so many videos on YouTube exactly 10 minutes long? Money. Because that's when we can put mid-roll ads in. Why is every single company putting a battle pass into their video game? It's not because every player is like, yes, I love it. I love battle passes. No.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I know you complain about battle passes all the time.
yeah.
I mean, it's just there's just fatigue, right? Like in Web 2 gaming, it's just people are exhausted from spending more money. Do you think the way Cornucopias is going to generate revenue is substantially different than battle passes? Do you think it's like, because like I think potentially there's already maybe a little bit of fatigue in the community with the NFTs and the vehicle NFTs and things like that. So do you think that, like, I mean, and part of that's because the game's not out and we can't play and we're just buying these NFTs on promises, you know? Maybe it's different when the game is playable, but do you think that, like, okay, well, it's the first of the month, Cornucopias does a drop of, new NFTs. There's a new mount NFT. There's some new clothing, and do you think people every month they're gonna be like excited to buy those things every month, or do you think you're gonna just generate fatigue in a different way?
Well, I guess it all depends on how you want a game, right? Because I mean, I think obviously it's a concept, right? So people are believing in the concept of the NFT and gaming. There's always been that correlation there. That's kind of where we see the industry going. It's just the one thing that it's just battle passes. I mean, yeah, and that's just one way to make revenue. But again, none of these games have their in-game currency and an actual
Yeah.
currency that to go ahead and trade it, and that's actually worth actually something, right? So which because of the crypto technologies of Cardano.
Yeah. All right, Eddie. I didn't want to, even though we're doing this three-part series here, I didn't want to exclude what happened on Kopi Cafe today because there was a huge leak. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit. I'm actually kind of blind reacting to it because I only watched a part of the Kopi Cafe and I didn't get to this leak part. So, like, I mean, like right off the bat, like,
Yeah,
I mean, this is like the bare bones of the coyote that she's working on here. I mean, like, look at the
yeah,
detail
yeah.
here. My goodness.
Yeah, it looks really cool. The fact that they're doing research and taking references on YouTube and just really doing their research and making it look good. This is what she calls is on ZBrush, if I'm not mistaken, is what she calls it, where it's just it's a high polygon look,
Does that?
which is
Do you have a
fantastic. I mean, this
definition
is
for that?
great.
Like high polygon look? What is that like?
Well, it's the fact that it's not all like
Oh,
geometric, right? Because like I mean, as you know, it's cleaned up, right?
yeah.
You see how it's so
It's not.
detailed,
It's
and you
not like
see the
it's not like
muscles in there. Well, obviously, it's
boxy,
just
right?
high
Like it's
polygon. It just means
detailed.
that it's
Yeah.
just like it's very micro. Yeah, exactly. It's finely detailed
Wow,
versus
dude.
like really like
Look at that.
choppy,
I mean, it's just
boxy.
terrifying looking too.
Uh,
Like,
yeah, it looks so cool, and I mean, this is going to be the base for like other canine looking animals such as foxes and
I mean, do
dogs
you see
and
right there
whatnot.
in her
And
video?
such.
Like that's a gamer chair, so she's a gamer, right? Like you don't get a gamer
Oh yeah,
without that chair.
she did mention that she plays a particular game. I can't remember right now. I want to say she played Rust. I'm sorry if I'm wrong on that. I think she said one of those type of games that
Mhm.
we've already been talking about. Uh, Again, she's clearly a gamer. She loves it, and
Look at the paws. Look at the
God, I
paws
just
down
love the
there. How
talent.
detailed they are.
I love the talent. Yeah, exactly. With the claws coming out, the muscle structure, and then of course once you add
Yeah.
the fur on there, it's going to look so sick. I mean, and going to the next image that she shares uh right after that, you can see what that will look like, but in a deer. Yeah, look at that. So they took that exact same concept, right? And then but this is
Yeah,
with
look at that.
the
Look at the
fur
neck. Like I mean,
making.
like that is attention to detail right there. I mean, this is
Yeah,
you're almost like I know you're looking at a game, but
you
yeah,
can
right. You can
taste the
taste the
meat.
venison. It's like if you told me that this was a picture of a real deer, I would be like, all right, it looks a little like digital, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was a real deer.
Yeah, it looks really good, man. I'm very impressed. That I mean, I've seen deer multiple times in games, and this is just at that level, and I'm really happy with it. Great job to Julian and other creations
Yeah.
it's coming our
Uh,
way. Look at that.
oh wow, look at that.
Look at that. Yeah, insane, dude.
What else?
That's impressive. They have a little bit, yeah, that one right there. They have multiple just out there and
I
about
mean,
like
so
wandering around.
I wonder how hard like the hunting aspect of the game is going to be. Like, if the same way it is with allegedly how hard the mining is going to be. If like you really have to sneak up on the deer You can really spook them. Can they run away fast? Like, one thing that annoyed me about, a little bit, not annoyed me about Red Dead Redemption, but how easy it was to like kind of catch up to these animals on your horse. Like I don't
Mhm.
think it should be all that easy. I think it should be really kind of difficult if you spook them. They should almost like always lose the kill, maybe.
Yeah, it just depends on on how skilled you are, right? I think that also can maybe be a skill trait, right? And that
What
could be leveled up,
the?
like if you're in terms of sneaking.
So
Yeah,
this is the
and
quantum
then there's
monster.
that. There's the bear. This is a quantum monster. It's like
So
the quantum
so did they
bear.
give away?
Is
I
I
mean,
think
I
is
have to
what they call
finish
it.
watching the episode. Did they give away any like? I mean, no details.
No details. No, just straight, just the image. And I honestly have found my uh,
That
desktop
is
background. This is going to be my
look, that
desktop
is
background for a while.
so I mean, I've mentioned before, people know that I'm writing the guild lore, and in the story for the guild lore, there is a
Yeah.
quantum monster. And so what I imagined, which is what I pictured, was kind of like a translucent yeti. And so I feel like this is not quite a translucent yeti, but this, I don't
No.
think that my general idea of a translucent yeti is a yeti is that far off. I mean, this is kind of like the vibe that I had imagined, where like you get this feeling of interdimensional material as a part of
Yep.
this wild beast, and it makes me wonder: is this quantum monster now like? Was this a bear that was just
I
infected by quantasite, or was this
um
something pulled from the interdimensional space?
well well actually I think maybe I'm trying to backtrack now because I think maybe they did mention that there was like some sort of like, yeah, like what you just said, interdimensional like black hole type of thing where they kind of
Right.
would come through. I think is what's going on. I think is sort of like the vague story of this. I could be wrong.
Oh
I
yeah, I'm
can't
looking.
remember. I only saw Kopi Cafe once, um, and it was like
So
about
my
2 hours, 3 hours
my
ago.
idea of what
Um,
quantasite is in my imagination is quantasite is the material that existed in the base universe, the first universe. And so like in every universe there's black holes, and inside those black holes there are more universes. And so you keep getting more and more black holes, more and more universes, until you get like infinite universes. But the material that existed in the very base universe is the quantasite that exists in the very first black hole where other universes were populated. And that's just my brain thinking of what it is. And so like I'm excited to go back and watch the rest of the Kopi Cafe, because if they were talking about it as like using the terms literally like black holes and like in like interdimensional areas, then I'm really excited to have been kind of on the right track with that.
I like the design. I'm wondering who created this. I
Mm.
think they mentioned it was David. I think that, and it looks so cool. I mean, just like all the like it's infected. You can see that. I'm like looks like the light blue light with like that reddish looking fire
But also
hue.
there's
It's
like
interesting. I like the.
there's also like
It looks
little part
badass.
pieces that are hovering around him, like he has his own gravity, like the bear is like creating its own gravity, because like that's like, yeah, like, or it's
True.
warping time
Yeah.
and space as it moves through it. So these little things are maybe orbiting around him, which I like, which I think plays really well into
Yeah.
the quantum nature of particles in the universe. Eddie and I wanted to thank the Knights Guild for letting us be a part of their amazing community. Make sure to follow them on X. Use the links in the description to join their Discord and find their website. Thank you to Josh, Robin, David, and all the amazing people working on the game. It's been awesome getting to know more and more of them through the Kopi Cafes. We really love that. Finally, please subscribe to Around the Corns YouTube channel so you don't miss next week's episode. We're always trying to do better content. We're trying to do more different stuff like these kinds of videos we're doing this week in this series that we're doing. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all soon.